are, but it is very hard. Cancer is a very complicated disease. It's very hard to speculate about why he wasn't screened around PSA screening. He is an old man. He's in his 80s. Why they took this course of care. I think that the idea that Joe Biden, that this was a cover-up of a cancer diagnosis feels quite unlikely. Unlikely.
Except that Zeke Emanuel said on MSNBC that he undoubtedly had this cancer while he was president. And what do you think of Clay's point about not trusting anything coming from that camp?
I think that those are two separate threads, and I think that conflating them is really kind of an unwise thing to do. I think that, yes, it is shocking that he has a cancer that is so advanced. It is, of course, also very hard to know because cancer is so nuanced. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, came out this week and said he also has this.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, so he has this form of cancer, and it came on, it seems like, quite fast. He's quite a bit younger than Joe Biden. He's a man in his 60s. People say there's sort of this common wisdom that most men do develop prostate cancer. They die with it, hopefully, and not from it. But I just think the idea that this was part of a concerted effort, that somehow the optics of this cancer are very, very bad for the Biden family and for the Biden camp. And so I would just say that the idea that this diagnosis and the timing of the omission of this diagnosis is somehow part of a PR scheme, if so, then they're failing at PR. I don't think that that's what's going on here at all.
Clay, I've known and covered Joe Biden for decades. He used to like talking to reporters, believe it or not. So maybe I give him the benefit of the doubt. But Biden and his doctors have released almost no details about this, answered no questions about the entire matter. And when the former president gave a very brief interview at the Connecticut airport to a local reporter, he said, "I'm feeling great." That was the extent of his commentary on the situation.
Well, look, I mean, it was reckless to run Joe Biden, I really believe, in 2020. I don't believe he would have been elected if he had to go on the road and not been able to hide in his basement because of COVID. The revelation suggests that he was basically, in the book that came out this week, that he was basically unable to even answer questions from random voters in town halls. And I think we're incredibly fortunate, frankly, that they did the debate on June 27th. And everybody suddenly came to the conclusion across the entire political spectrum that he wasn't able to do the job. Because if he had been elected, think about reelected, then 6 months into term 2, suddenly he has this cancer, which, as you mentioned, Howard, MSNBC cancer experts went on and said that they believe he's had it for the entire time that he was in the Oval Office. Look, the fact that Donald Trump, Barack Obama, George W. Bush all released their PSA tests and Biden never did, to me is somewhat skeptical of me, I think, again, because I don't trust them to be honest. And I just think we're very lucky as a country that Donald Trump is in office, because otherwise I think Joe Biden would have to step down and Kamala Harris would be elevated. And we just saw that the nation, overwhelmingly all 50 states, moved against her compared to 2020. We did not want her to be president. And if Biden, they had managed to drag him across the finish line, Weekend at Bernie's 2 style, right now we would have Kamala Harris about to be elevated to president of the United States, who no one, we just found out in November, wanted to be president of the United States. So I'm thankful for Trump. But really, I feel like we dodged a bullet.
Let me jump in. So there are some heartless SOBs out there who are actually celebrating that Joe Biden has advanced prostate cancer. Perhaps the worst is Taylor Lorenz. She's worked for the New York Times. She's worked for the Washington Post. She's now independent. And she actually posted this, forgive the language, "I hope he rots in hell and stands in piss." What do you make of that kind of reaction, Lucy? And then you can circle back to respond to Clay if you want.
Yeah, I think it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting when it comes from the far left. I think it's disgusting when it comes from the right.
It's appalling.
It is appalling. But the idea that this was a massive cover-up of the cancer, we just don't know. Again, I want to say Clay is not a urologist or an oncologist. We are not equipped to speculate. I actually will tell you something. I have cancer. I am actively a cancer patient right now. I also feel great. I also, you don't know what is going on with your cancer from moment to next. Joe Biden was just diagnosed. The fact that his doctors don't have all the information does not necessarily reflect that there's a cover-up. Cancer is a treatment. They're all different,
right.
And it's evolving.
Yours,
moment to moment,
yours
you
at
don't
an
know.
early stage?
No, it was not actually, and I will be fine, but it is stage 3, but I didn't know I had cancer until 6 weeks ago, right? And so moment to moment when you have cancer, and if you've ever experienced cancer or have a family member with cancer, you know this, you get the cancer diagnosis, it may be weeks or months before you know more about your cancer. You don't know what the course of care is going to be. It is an evolving journey, and thank God we live in a time where lots of cancers are extremely treatable, and people make a full recovery, which I hope to do. So it is just important.
Which we hope so too.
It is important that we show compassion and care and understanding about the nuance and complexity of these illnesses.
I've got about a half a minute, Clay. Jake Tapper.